I mean, part of the challenge here is that this town, let's face it, you guys are pretty impatient. If something doesn't happen today, then the assumption is it's just not going to happen. Right? I mean, I've had this conversation for the last 2 years about every single issue that we've worked on, whether it was health care or don't ask, don't tell, on Egypt, right? We've had this monumental change over the last 3 weeks. Well, why did it take 3 weeks? So I think that there's a tendency for us to assume that if it didn't happen today, it's not going to happen. Well, the Fiscal Commission put out a framework. I agree with much of the framework. I disagree with some of the framework. It is true that it got 11 votes, and that was a positive sign. What's also true, is, for example, is that the chairman of the House Republican budgeteers didn't sign on. He's got a little bit of juice when it comes to trying to get an eventual budget done. So he's got concerns. So I'm going to have a conversation with him. What would he like to see happen? I'm going to have a conversation with those Democrats who didn't vote for it. There are some issues in there that, as a matter of principle, I don't agree with, where I think they didn't go far enough or they went too far. So this is going to be a process in which each side, in both chambers of Congress, go back and forth and start trying to whittle their differences down until we arrive at something that has an actual chance of passage. And that's my goal. I mean, my goal here is to actually solve the problem. It's not to get a good headline on the first day. My goal is that a year from now or 2 years from now, people look back and say, you know what, we actually started making progress on this issue.
No, you first, and nobody wants to have, everybody says everything's on the table, but then nobody wants to talk about the table.
There was this was the same criticism people had right after the midterm election. If you had polled the press room and the conventional wisdom in Washington after the midterm, the assumption was there's no way we were going to end up getting a tax deal that got the majority of both Democrats and Republicans. It was impossible, right? And we got it done. So this is not a matter of you go first or I go first. This is a matter of everybody having a serious conversation about where we want to go, and then ultimately getting in that boat at the same time so it doesn't tip over. And I think that can happen.